This episode of Career Center is brought to you in part by Lane Marketing.
Hello and welcome to Career Center. I'm Kim White, Executive Director of the Career and Networking Center, a resource center located in Naperville focused on providing career and professional development support to millennials, more seasoned workers like me, and everyone in between. Joining me today is Thigpen to share her career journey, career tips, and lessons learned along the way. Kathy, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for saying yes and coming on this show. I know we recently had a chance to chat for a little bit, and just was really excited to hear about your career journey. I know that we don't often see people who have been in a position or at a company for 20 plus years. And so I know that you have, and I would love for our audience to learn a little bit more about that. But before we talk about your career journey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I guess I would call myself a training and development professional. Really enjoy the new area that's coming up called workforce development.
Yep.
And so teacher, author, speaker, trainer, just have a nice little mixed bag of things that I do, which kind of describes my career. It's really been a mixed bag of different things.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about you being an author and some of the books that you're interested in. But so let's talk about your career journey. So you've been with your company for over 20 years.
Yes.
Is that something you set out to do? Did you think you would be kind of in this, for 20 plus years, or?
When I went to college and I got a degree in general business. And the reason I got the degree in general business is because I'd been there for like 3.5 years, and I'm like, it's ready, time to go.
Yeah.
So I took all the credits that I had in a little basket and took it to Dr. Canterbury's office. This was his name. And I said, what can I get with this? And he said, go take this class and this class will give you a degree in general management. And I said, okay, thank you, I'll take it. And so then, just like most people looking for a job, will take any job that I get. And so I got a job as a collection manager for Sears Roebuck. And so I was a collection manager for a couple of years. It was tough, it was fun. I still have, I was the collection manager, my supervisor and I are still good friends after all these many years.
Wow.
Did that for a couple of years, then thought I wanted to do something else and took a job in pharmaceutical sales.
Okay.
That was also fun.
Yeah.
But the thing that came through all the jobs I had was this ideal. I really like teaching. I really like training. I don't mind standing up in front of a group of people and presenting something. And so I really said, let me look into education. So I'm from Alabama. And when you were growing up, for most part, the people in the community would say if you had, you were a smart girl, they'd be like, oh, you'll be a teacher. Yeah. I knew that I did not have the grace to be a teacher. Yeah. But learn more about this ideal of training and working with adults and helping adults learn and grow. And so I went back and got a master's degree in adult and continuing education. And that's how I got to my current job. I took some time. I worked in the community college system for several years, selling training, selling training to area companies, and did some adjunct faculty work. Doesn't pay very well, but it's a great experience.
Great experience, yeah.
And I was also the night manager at Joliet Junior College, so I was the campus administrator for the night. And then just kind of fell into a job at a utility company, and 20 years later, I am still there.
Wow. Yeah. So those jobs that you took beforehand, what experiences did you have in those roles that you knew, this is not really for me, this is not what I want to do in terms of, as a collections manager or a pharmaceutical? What was it? Just that desire to train and teach, or?
Well, while I was a collection manager, I enjoyed the teaching part, helping my collectors learn, working with my collectors. That is a very hard job, and you never know what's going to happen when someone answers the phone.
Right.
Either they're going to yell and scream and rant and rave, or they're going to have some horrible life situation. Right. And so it was the training and the nurturing of my collectors that I did enjoy. And then when I was selling pharmaceuticals, there was a helping component there. And so educating the people who were buying the drugs. I sold over-the-counter drugs. And so just the education piece, that was always just now that I look back, a thread. And so now I've spent 20 years in training and development. I train everyone at the company from entry level
Okay.
to the executives.
So there were things that you pulled out from those jobs that are helping you in this current job. So those skills.
Well, the interest in it,
Yeah.
and then when I went back and learned really how to do it and how adults learn, because it's very different than teaching children. So what a third grade teacher needs to do to get the point across, totally different than if you're teaching an adult that has a job and has real life concerns. You've got to have a different set of skills, and so that different set of skills is what's helped me to become successful.
Good.
Yeah.
So as you were kind of moving up the ranks in your current role, did you have a mentor? Or have you had someone, not necessarily at your job, but just someone along the way that's kind of helped you?
I've had a lot of people that have helped me at different points in time. I do have a mentor. She would say we help each other.
Okay.
But there was a lady at my company. She's senior to me. She gives me good advice, and really just kind of helps me. In terms of this ideal of moving up, my career has been more like a walk through the woods than a climb up a corporate ladder. I decided about 15 years ago that when I had children, because I had waited to have children, that I want to spend some time with them. And I wanted to be the room mom, and I wanted to be the band parent, and so I kind of took a downshift. And so I've worked part-time for 15 years. Still in a professional position.
And at the same company?
At the same company, still in a professional role, and it's possible if you want to balance things out. And so for 15 years while my children were growing, I worked part-time. I still did all the work, still on the same professional level, but I had time to be a room mom and
do those things.
Do those things.
How was that conversation with your employer about wanting to take a step back? Was that a difficult conversation to have? Were they receptive?
Yes and no.
Okay.
The reason I knew I could take a step back is when I first started in training and development at the utility company, my director at that point, she said, I know you're a young mother. We have this rule, we have this policy that if you'd like to work part-time, come and see me. And so she planted the seed. 4 years later, when I had my second son, and I was struggling with, trying to get it all done. I said, wait a minute, let me see if I can enact that policy. Well, now we had a different director. And she was like, no. She's like, you are far too valuable. We need you here 5 days a week. And so it took about a year of negotiating. It took a year of, because I had had such good exposure to the senior level of leadership, and I went out and I started talking to people and saying, hey, can you use my skill set? But I'd like to take a shift back and work part-time, and got nothing but, yeah, I think I can find a way to use you. And so finally, the vice president of HR got a hold of the fact that I was having these conversations. He called me in and he said, listen, we value you, we know what you can do, and one day you're going to want to work full-time again, we want you to work here full-time. So absolutely, take the downshift, and when you're ready, we're here.
That's actually really good for people to hear, that they can have that conversation and it could go in that direction. So we're going to have to take a quick break, and we will be right back after this break.
In Naperville, we know that community counts. In fact, it's in our name. As Naperville Community Television, we have the privilege of showcasing what makes this award-winning city a wonderful place to raise a family, to make a living, and to enjoy life's journey. That's why it's our mission to capture on camera those special moments that connect us. Those stories that impact our lives, stories you won't see anywhere else. So watch Naperville Community Television on air, online, and on social media.
Welcome back to Career Center. I am Kim White, back with Kathy Thigpen. Thanks for staying with me.
I'm having fun.
So we talked a little bit in the first segment about your career journey and that you spent 20 years with a company, which you don't necessarily see. And then you took some time and talked to your employer and you went part-time for 15 years to raise your kids. You also decided to write a few books.
Yes.
Now, having recently co-wrote a book with some folks, it's a lot of work, and I'm counting here, like you have a lot of books here. So, and I know that one of the books that you really talk about and you refer to is the Good Is Not Enough book, and it's referenced a pie chart. And so this is, you know, something I want to talk about because it really is something that can help folks who are in job search or in, you know, looking for advancement within their career. So I want to spend some time really talking about that because I know you're really passionate about that.
Yeah, I did decide to write some books. I always wanted to write a book, and so I got that done. And I discovered along the way there's this concept called PIE. It's a career management concept. And PIE stands for Performance, Image, and Exposure. And if you look at it as a pie chart, you need to figure out how much of your career success is going to be on your performance, how much is on your image, and how much is on your exposure. Now, there is a formula that we teach, and it says really that your success, performance is 10% of the pie, so that's not a big slice. Your image is 30% of the pie, and exposure is actually 60% of the pie. Now, when I teach this, and I've taught this at many different corporations, social services groups, I teach this a lot. And when I first roll it out, people are like, no, not possible.
You automatically assume performance is going to be 60% and everything else comes
Most people feel like if I work and work and work, they're going to see my performance and they're going to elevate me. When actually, when I teach it, I say this. I'm a Southerner, if you haven't caught on. It's pie. And you know, you don't have pie without the crust. So you have to consider the performance your crust. That's your foundation, that's your base. You've got to have the performance. It's got to be there and it's got to be excellent performance. But you need to add to that this ideal of image. What's your image? What do people think when they see you? Do they think that you are prepared to go into the corporate suite? Do you carry yourself in how you're behaving at work? Does it say, hey, she's ready for the next level? Or are you carrying yourself as, hey, I'm a worker bee, and I'm here to work, 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 work? It comes out in our speech. I do a thing called speech acts.
Speech acts?
Speech acts.
Speech,
Speech is action. You know, you can't yell fire in a crowded room. It's called a speech act, and that's actually illegal. But when people ask us about our performance on the job, so you were on this project, you got to lead the project, and the VP comes and says, hey, nice job on the project. And you say, well, I was just doing my job. That's a speech action. Instead of saying, just doing my job, a better speech act would be, hey, thanks for the compliment. It was really a great opportunity. I got a chance to show my leadership skill. I got a chance to apply some of the things I learned in the recent MBA I just received. And also, I got a chance to see how, even if you're making a small change to corporate policy, there are a lot of considerations and a lot of impacts before you can implement that change. See how that is different?
Very different, very different.
So now you've had a chance to do a little bit of that elevator speech, and it's an action. And so we have to really think about how we speak about ourselves at work. And so that's part of that image. I'm a big Hamilton fan.
Yeah, so am I.
Yes, well, in the room where it happens. For the most part, when these decisions are being made at work, we are not in the room. But you have got to have someone who's going to bring your name in the room where it happens. And that's really how these things happen.
And those speech actions would help that,
It helps you to generate that.
Absolutely.
But this whole ideal of who's speaking for you in that room. Because if you don't have someone speaking to you, for you in that room, your name's not going to get on that board. Now, there are some HR actions and other actions that try to assist people, but if we can help ourselves by making sure that our image is there and we have that exposure, that is really going to help us in our careers.
So what happens when you talk, excuse me, to people and you tell them about the formula, 60-30-10? Because people they're just not buying that, right? They're not going to buy that because you think your performance has to be more than that. And you talk about the worker bees. So kind of explain that a little bit more to me.
It's a great conversation. And so we begin the conversation by asking people to fill out the pie and what they think. And then I show them the real numbers. And one of the things I say, because this is an interesting area to teach in, I always say to my classes, I'm going to lay it out on the table, and if it speaks to you, pick it up and use it. But if you can't use it, and if it can't get into your brain, then it's okay. But it really is, if you really start to look at it, and when you really start to think about that person who sat next to you and they did the same job, and now they're the vice president, what did they do differently?
What did they do?
When you start thinking about, did you participate in any of the corporate volunteerism programs? I have a dear friend of mine. When I showed her first the pie, and she was like, I'm not sure. And then she started thinking about it, and she said, but I did everything I was supposed to do. Excellent performance, I believe I have a good image, and I did do all the volunteer and social activities with the company. And then she started thinking, and she said, you know what? I used to go to the golf outing. I learned to play golf. I went and got the clubs, I got the outfit. But at the golf outing, I got in the golf cart with my friends. I didn't get in the golf cart with the executives, with the decision makers. And so she was like, I thought I was doing it right. The purpose of the golf outing is not to play golf.
Right, it's to network.
It's a network and get that exposure. And so sometimes we miss that even when we think we're doing everything right. So it's something good to consider. What's my image? Do I have exposure to the right people? You know, this is Chicagoland. It helps to know people.
It helps to know, yeah. I mean, I think in any environment, in terms of a work environment, you really have to make sure you are networking within the company and as well as outside of the company.
You are known, and your image speaks to the next level. You know, the career advice used to be dress like the level you want to be on, dress like and act like, and make sure those on that level know who you are for your performance, but they also see that image that says, hey, I can see her in the room when we're making those decisions.
And it really goes to branding. We talk a lot about branding now. It's about marketing yourself and branding yourself. And
everyone has a brand, but everyone is not managing their brand.
Absolutely. It's not consistent. I talk about that all the time. You have to be consistent with your brand too.
And so what is your brand? You know, if your brand is, I'm an excellent instructional designer, and that's what I want to do, and that's what I want to be, that's okay. Be an excellent instructional designer. If your brand is, I'm a supervisor and I want to be a manager, start acting like a manager, conducting yourself like a manager. And when you get those opportunities to speak to senior leadership, speak. Watch your speech actions.
This has been a very good conversation. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you joining me on this month's edition of Career Center. So thank you so much, Kathy. Up next, Career Tips in 5. We'll be back after these important public service announcements.
We're proud to call Naperville our hometown, where you can enjoy simple pleasures, such as a stroll along the Riverwalk or the excitement of a Friday night football game. It's where families can raise their children and plant their roots for generations to come. And so we're proud to be the city's nonprofit television station, keeping residents connected and informed through video storytelling on air and online. We ask that you continue to watch and share the stories about this wonderful town we call home.
Welcome back to Career Center. I'm Kim White, Executive Director of the Career and Networking Center. And joining me now for Career Tips in 5 is Nicole Lamb with Lane Marketing. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you. So I know that you talk about do your research, how important it is to do your research, and you have 5 specific things that you speak about. Number 1, view profiles.
Yeah, so they have an opportunity to look on LinkedIn. I think it's a great resource, and I would say even connect with the people that you're interviewing with. So take a look on LinkedIn, connect with them. I don't think it's creepy or crazy that you're doing that, and I think it goes a long way to let them know that you're interested in the position.
Number 2, review the company. That's very important.
It is. Yeah. You think it's a no-brainer. I'm putting that down as number 2, but it is really important, and you'd be really surprised how many people come in and they've never even looked at the company. A lot of times on their website, they'll have a vision statement or a mission statement. See if you align with that. See if it's something that you're interested in. I always say that you are interviewing the company just as much as they're interviewing you, and this goes a long way. Review the job description.
Yeah.
Again, this one I think you need to put a little bit more emphasis on and maybe put some pen to paper. A lot of times you need to figure out what your skills are, how you align with the role, and actually put it down. What happens in an interview is the first thing happens, you get nervous and you fill that space. A lot of people will fill that space with self-deprecation or ways that they don't fill the role, and you'd be amazed how many times people kind of do that to themselves in an interview. So if you prepare and you show where you can align, you'll be able to pull those out in an interview much more readily.
Connect with leadership. Hugely important to do that.
Hugely important. Yeah, so you're already on their website. Go ahead and pop over. Most sites will have a leadership tab, and you can look and see what their bio is, how they started the company, whether they're the founder. Those things will go a long way, because in an interview, a lot of times the people who are interviewing you will reference them. Then you're sort of nodding and you are part of the conversation because you understand who they're talking about, which is important.
And number 5, review Glassdoor.
Yeah, so this one, I always say take it with a grain of salt. Glassdoor can have a lot of bad reviews for a company, but you really want to make sure that you're listening to what people are saying about the company. It also can give you, pro tip for this one, is it can give you some insights into what to ask them at the end of an interview. I'm always surprised when I get to the end of an interview and someone says they don't have any questions. To me, that's not really a great thing to do. You need to make sure that you've prepared, you've got some good questions, and that you're engaged in the role and the job that you're looking to get.
So important. So important to do so. Well, thank you, Nicole, for sharing your career tips in 5. If you're looking for career or professional development support, visit the Career and Networking Center at 1815 West Deal Road, Suite 900 in Naperville, or search us on the web at careernetworkingcenter.org. Thanks so much for watching.
This episode of Career Center is brought to you in part by Lane Marketing.